Hey everyone, this is Shelly with Shine Ministries. I'm just checking in with my Hebrew study buddies. Last week we finished up chapter 2 and we are about to roll into chapter 3. And chapter 2, oh my goodness, I was so blessed in reading over and over again that Jesus is our merciful and our faithful high priest. And the reason he can be that for us is because he has experienced everything, every emotion, every physical pain that we might ever experience in our lives. And because of that, that makes him qualified to be merciful. I'm so glad it included that word in verse 17, because we all need to know that somebody understands what we're going through. And so he is our merciful high priest, the one that can identify with those low points in our lives, and we all experience those, and to know that we don't walk alone through those is just a very comforting thought. The other thing that really got my heart was the fact that it says around, I think it's around verse 11 and 12 in chapter 2, that Jesus is not ashamed to call us his brothers and sisters. And as a matter of fact, in verse 12 it says that he will proclaim our name as a brother or sister in a congregation, in a crowd. And it just made me do a personal check. Would I do the same for Jesus? He's not ashamed of me. Am I ashamed to pronounce his name and to share the gospel of Christ in a crowd? Paul challenges us in Romans 1:16. He says that I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ. And so to see that reciprocated, given back to us, that Jesus is not ashamed, that really blessed my heart. As we roll into chapter 3, we're really going to see a theme developing in the book of Hebrews. As we've already talked about, chapter 1 revealed to us that Jesus is greater than angels. He's greater than creation. He's greater than government. He is over and above all things. Chapter 2 kind of gave us the human side of Jesus when he came and he became like us, as it says in Hebrews 2:17. So yes, he's above and over all things. Chapter 2, though, brought him to a personal level to us, that he has been through those same things. He suffered with us. We partake with him in the glory and in the suffering. And then in chapter 3, another comparison is being made by the author of Hebrews. The first several verses in chapter 3 talk about Moses. And how is it that he compares to Jesus? And there are some similarities, but there is a great difference between Moses and Jesus. And the reason the author was even making this point and bringing Moses up is because he knew that to the audience that he was writing to, the Hebrew Christians, that Moses was on a pedestal. I mean, after all, he was the chosen spokesperson for God for many, many years. And so they rightly looked to him as their spiritual forefather. But remember what Hebrews 1:1 said. It said, but, now in these days, God speaks to us through his son. So that was such an important point for the author to make, so that Moses would not be considered to be greater than Christ. As a matter of fact, in verse 3, the author says, for he, meaning Jesus, has been counted worthy of more glory than Moses. So he was making a big point right there. So just make yourself a little T-chart. Compare what the author is saying about Moses and about Jesus, and you'll see those comparisons come out, and you'll learn a lot from doing that. The other big thing that's coming out in chapter 3 happens around verse 5. It talks about how Moses was a faithful servant in God's house. And remember the wilderness tabernacle that God directed Moses to build back in the book of Exodus. It said all of those things were a testimony of those things which were to be spoken later. That's in Hebrews 3:5. Oh my goodness, as we roll through the book of Hebrews, we're going to look at how everything in that tabernacle was a foreshadowing. It was a testimony of the things that Jesus accomplished, the things that Jesus did, who Jesus was, and how there was just this perfect marriage between that Old Testament covenant and Jesus being the New Testament covenant. So that's going to be a lot of the things that we look at in other chapters in the great book of Hebrews. And then the other theme that you're going to see in chapter 3 is a theme that is around unbelief. And so many people truly, truly struggle with the demons of unbelief. So as you study chapter 3, keep your eye open for that. What is it that you're learning about unbelief? How did it impact the children of Israel? Because there is a section in there that takes you down a stroll down memory lane as they wandered in the wilderness for those 40 years, and some of the things that happened as a result of their stubbornness and their refusal to believe what God said, and then what implications does that have for us as Christians, as people living in today's time? How does unbelief impact us? So those are the big ideas that you'll see in chapter 3. I wanted to show you another resource. Last week, I was able to show you a little bit with blueletterbible.org. This week, I'm going to take my camera and turn it around and show you a little bit about BibleCommenter.com. So I've got the website pulled up right here. Get it focused in there for you, and it's basically the same resources. They're just formatted a little differently. Here you've got the search box again, and so you can type Hebrews 2, which I've already done, and it's got it pulled up right here. And also with this particular website, all of your resources are just all along these different tabs up here. You've got commentaries, you've got a lexicon, you have the Greek, you've got some interlinear cross-references here. You've got all of the different translations, so any kind of translation you might want would be up in this bar. And so right now it's kind of clicked onto the commentary. I can go right here, click on NAS, which is the New American Standard Version of the Bible, and I can go down here to where the scriptures are, and you can see they pop up. And just very similar to what we talked about last week with Blue Letter Bible, you can click on these little blue numbers right here, the verse numbers. It pops up, and then you can see all of the different translations, the parallel translations, or you can go right up here to the top and click on the lexicon part. When you click that, it does similar things to what we saw last week. All of the words or phrases come up. You've got your Strong's reference number right here. You've got your definitions and origins here. So just a really great wealth of resources. A feature that I do like about this website is that it does have maps and things inserted that go along with the text that you're reading. So if it references someplace in Israel or someplace in the East, it will have a map, and you can click on those and blow those up. So again, just another great reference tool that we have free to us as an online tool to study God's Word together. So let's get into chapter 3 this week, and make sure that you're posting comments and your questions on the Shine Ministries Facebook page, or you can also post those at our blog at shellyhollis.com/blog. Have a great time studying God's Word this week.